This is Michael Popak with a Legal AF Hot Take. Even before jury selection starts later today, in the New York criminal case against Donald Trump, Judge Merchan is handling motions at the last minute filed fast and furiously by Donald Trump to try to, what else? Delay the inevitable. We are in the courtroom. Donald Trump is in the courtroom. We are no longer outside on social media world or in some sort of Truth Social posting. Donald Trump is sitting inside of a wood-paneled courtroom at 100 Center Street. P.S. A very shabby courthouse among the New York criminal and civil court system, not the illustrious shining star courthouse, but that's where he is. And now Judge Merchan has just ruled again he is not going to take himself off the case. Remember that Donald Trump filed a motion for recusal, a motion to have the judge disqualified, which was just a repeat of what he did last year and failed, arguing that the judge doesn't like Donald Trump, that the judge gave an interview with AP in which he said, I'm going to be fair and impartial, and therefore he should be removed from the case, and that he has a daughter who works in politics. Okay, what does that have to do with anything? I mean, I know more about Lauren Merchan than I ever cared to. She seems like a very nice person and has a job. She's an adult and she has First Amendment rights and she works for political causes on the Democratic side. So what? Unless you show me that Judge Merchan is on the payroll of her PR firm, her political PR firm in Chicago, or gets a pension from it, or gets some sort of stream of payments from it, how does that impact Dad? Dad is a judge. He sits with a black robe as a Supreme Court justice in New York doing trials. And by the way, all of these issues were all present 2 years ago when Donald Trump's organizations were convicted of tax evasion, 17 counts, presided over by Judge Merchan, who was not removed from the case. He's not going to be removed from the case. But Donald Trump wanted to use it as a way to try to get the appellate court to give him a delay. I don't know if you heard this one, but he didn't get any of his stays. That's why we're picking a jury later today in New York. Not only did he not get any of his stays, despite going to the appellate court almost 11 times, he's 0-11. He was 0 for 3 last week, including on the issue of whether Judge Merchan, the case should be stayed while the appellate division decides whether to remove Judge Merchan. Here's a little bit of a spoiler alert. The appellate division is not going to take Judge Merchan off of the bench for this trial, because there's nothing that's been established that would support that there is any kind of actual conflict of interest, actual bias, or even the appearance that criminal justice and justice can't be done in his courtroom. And the judge took on Todd Blanche once again today in court, when inevitably, like a broken clock, Todd Blanche said, the motion to recuse, we want the judge off the bench. And the judge was like, do you have any new information, or are you just relying on your attacks mercilessly on my daughter? And he said, well, Judge, we have two things. Your daughter, we'll get there in a minute, which is an excuse to bash the daughter again without maybe getting held in contempt. And you gave an interview to AP. And the judge says, let's take that one first. On the interview for AP, what's the best you got in terms of showing that I'm biased? They said, you said that you would, that there's no agenda here and that you would just apply the law to the facts. The judge says, okay. So I stated what my job is as a judge in an interview. And that's an extrajudicial statement outside the courtroom that indicates animus or bias towards you or violates some constitutional rights. What else denied? What else do you have? My daughter. And the judge said on his daughter, the attacks on my daughter in trying to link me, the court, to her First Amendment rights or her political business in Chicago, even though it only represents Democrats, who cares, is attenuated. To say it is attenuated, that connection, the judge said, is an understatement. He then said the entire attack on my daughter and trying to link it to me to get me off the bench for this trial is just inferences, innuendo, and unsubstantiated speculation. And that's not what's required. And what's required for the extraordinary relief of a defendant getting his judge off his case, as you would expect, has to rise to the level of bias, animus by the judge, not just bad rulings. Oh, judge always rules against me. That doesn't necessarily show bias or prejudice. That's just maybe showing good judicial acumen in this case. So that the appellate courts have said can't be the basis. Bias would be like he's getting paid from the daughter, like a stream of payments related to how successful her company is over in the public relations politics world. Or you have to show that just based on a totality of circumstances that a reasonable non-lawyer observing these proceedings would think that Donald Trump can't get a fair and impartial trial with Judge Merchan. None of that is present. The Judicial Ethics Commission has already looked at this issue at the request of Judge Merchan and told him you're fine and gave him a clean bill of health. That was last year. There's no new facts this year at all. So you got that going on. The judge said, inferences, innuendo, and unsupported speculation is not going to take me off the bench. Could you think of what would happen if it did? Every defendant who didn't like the judge would just move to dismiss them. Just boom, peremptory challenge, get rid of the judge. I don't like that judge. Right? This is not like you're at a blackjack table in Vegas and you don't like the looks of the dealer. That dealer deals too fast. I can't win. This is the court system. And we can't allow to set the precedent that judges just, willy-nilly drop from the bench because somebody, the defense, said mean things about them, or in this case, against their family. So he quickly, Judge Merchan, denied for the third time the motion to disqualify him or to recuse. Now, sure, maybe it presents an appellate issue at the end of the case, 6 or 8 weeks from now. It's not going to give Donald Trump, although try as he may, the right to go up on an interlocutory, immediate emergency appeal right now to the appellate division and stop the case. The appellate division and the judges assigned to it, which sits in Manhattan, which is the intermediary appellate court, know that there is a trial of Donald Trump going on. You'd have to be Rip Van Winkle not to know that. How would you not know that? So they know. They're keeping an eye on things. And do you see them setting emergency hearings? Do you see them calling all the parties in after hours or before hours, before the trial started, in order to address some of Donald Trump's crazier theories? No. And that's how they are ruling, by not taking the bait. They'll get to the appellate issues in due course at the appropriate time, but they're not going to stand in the way of justice in the meantime. And just a little bit of a Patreon breakout session here. The first stop on the train for a motion to disqualify goes to the judge you're trying to disqualify. I know it sounds perverse, and I've had done it a couple of times in my career, once successfully, where I got rid of a judge because, just to give you an example, that judge was caught commenting negatively about the case during a break in the trial. We had taken a couple of days off. The judge was kibitzing, I won't name the judge or the courthouse, was kibitzing with another lawyer about the case in front of him, which was our case. And he crapped all over, that's a legal term, he crapped all over one of my witnesses and his credibility, right? He can hold those thoughts, but he's presiding over a jury trial at that moment. So he can't just sit in the hallway shooting the you-know-what with one of his buddies. Fortunately, one of the other lawyers, one of my co-counsel, was there on another case waiting in the hallway and overheard it. Sure, so if there was something like that, then I'd be the first one to run Judge Merchan out on the rail, okay? But short of that, sit in your seat. Don't go anywhere. Justice requires it. Justice demands it. And his bosses, both at the appellate division, the eventual Court of Appeals for New York, the highest court in New York, and the Judicial Ethics Commission that gave Judge Merchan a clean bill of health, are demanding that he stay and do justice. So try as he might, it's like watching a toddler, throwing a temper tantrum on the floor, trying to stop the inevitable. The inevitable is a jury is going to be picked in this case. It's going to start either later today or maybe tomorrow. And then we're going to have a jury by the end of the week or early next week. And we're going to opening statements in a criminal case against a former president, now just a regular old garden variety, run-of-the-mill criminal defendant in New York for things that he did before he was even president. And that's the way it's going to be. So we're going to continue to follow. There's going to be a lot of stuff, just to give you sort of set expectations here. There's going to be a lot of activity having nothing to do with the jury selection process that'll be going on almost simultaneously with this process. So it's not just going to be like a week solid of jury selection. The judge is going to handle other motions, other evidentiary issues, other witness issues, other motions, crazy as they may be by Donald Trump. For instance, we know for a fact that the prosecutors are going to be bringing a motion for contempt against Donald Trump for violating the gag order because they told the judge that today. That's going to be handled during the course of the next week or two on full briefing, I am sure. Other motions, when Donald Trump inevitably today violates the gag order again, they'll add it on to the pile. They have to. They have to bring Donald Trump to justice. They can't look the other way and ignore it. And they'll just continue to... Donald Trump has a unique ability, which I've never seen before in a litigant, especially a criminal defendant, to daily, hourly generate new evidence for the prosecution. It is fascinating to watch as a trial lawyer. I've never had a client on a party on the other side who gave me new facts to use in my trial in real time while we were continuing. Usually I got so excited I shook the table. Normally I have to wait and find out that information well before trial. No, we'll get it while the trial is going on. And so all these events, these various motions, decisions by the judge, arguments by Donald Trump, his attempts to run and go get appeals while the selection process goes on, we'll report it, right? The joke now is Donald Trump ran a catch and kill program. We on Legal AF run a catch and explain program. We'll catch it. We'll explain it to you. We'll bring it to you on hot takes like this every hour, every half an hour on the MeidasTouch network, and then we'll pull it all together on Legal AF on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time for our YouTube channel. Come join us. Find out why we call it Legal AF. I think you're starting to get the sense why. You like lawyers talking about things? They know what they're talking about at the intersection of law and politics? Join Legal AF. It's free. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popak reporting. Heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.